Hi guys. Today we wanted to talk to you about downsizing. So we wanted to talk about what you do, what are some things and some helpful tips and tricks when you're thinking about downsizing. And downsizing can mean a lot of different things, right? Some of us downsize from a bigger house, maybe when our kids grow up or get out of the house and we have maybe a 3 or 4 bedroom home, a couple thousand square feet. And now we're thinking that's a little too much space for two people to be bumbling around in, and we downsize to maybe a 2,000 square foot or an 1,800 square foot house. So there's that kind of thing that you need to have some tips and tricks about. And then there's downsizing, like maybe you decided you want to live in an RV like we're doing for a few months. And then there's other types of downsizing, like maybe you're completely getting rid of your house and you're going to slow travel, which is what we're in the steps of doing in the future. So we have just recently done this first process. We sold our home that was over 2,000 square feet, and we are currently living in an RV. So over about the past
Almost
a year, we've been planning for this, and we've been sorting and decluttering and cleaning and organizing and going
selling
through
and gifting and
Yes, all of the things. So we kind of laid it out here in two different steps. The before you before you move, so what you have to do in your current home, whatever size that may be, however long you've lived there. Some people move a lot and they have boxes like we did that we haven't looked at in 2 or 3 moves, and they're still just sitting there. It's kind of like, why do we pack these things around from house to house and we don't even use them? And some people have lived in the same house their entire life, and it's just a lifetime full of memories and things that have to be gone through. So we have some tips for you for when you're kind of starting to think about it and getting ready for that process.
And then the after.
And then we have some tips for after you have actually made the move. So let's jump right in and get to it. First thing we're going to talk about is before. So things that you can do that we've started to do almost a year in advance. We started doing these things. So we went through, the easiest thing to do is just get rid of the things that you know don't matter, don't mean anything, or maybe old, broken,
redundant things.
Yeah,
duplicates.
maybe you have a couple of the same thing, or maybe you don't use something anymore. Maybe it's that box that you just toted around all those moves and didn't open. Open it up and say, yeah, I really don't need this stuff. I haven't used it in the last however long. I'm not going to use it.
Well, there's that rule of thumb. If you haven't picked it up, looked at it, used it in at least a year or more, it's probably not worth keeping around. Now, you know, if you're needing something, I mean, there's no hard and fast rule, and everybody has to decide for themselves. But you know, maybe it's a tool that you use. You know you're going to use it. You're going to, you know, men are famous for this. I use that every 25 years. But you know, things that you might use periodically. You know you're going to use it again.
Like your Slim Jim. You know, had a few people ask to help get their car open.
A Slim Jim is a car, you know, for opening up locked cars. Yeah. So
had a run of time where a couple random different people needed help with their car, and he had the Slim Jim. So there's things that you don't use very often. There's seasonal clothes or seasonal items. So we're not saying get rid of all of that stuff. We're just saying there's some sorting that can be done and needs to be done if you're significantly downsizing. And it just feels good to kind of go through that clutter.
For me, all that stuff meant we had stuff to take care of. And
owning a lawnmower means you have a lawn that needs mowed.
And you have to maintain that lawnmower. I mean, regardless of whether it's electric, gas, doesn't matter. It needs maintenance, right? It needs care. It needs somewhere to store it.
Time and energy that maybe you want to spend somewhere else.
And so those are the kind of things you want to take a step back and look at and go, okay, do I really need? And you know, for me, I stopped working in the professional world, so I had this whole wardrobe of professional clothing that I really don't need anymore. So I started looking at that, and you know, you only need so many suits, you only need so many ties, you only need so many dress slacks. Again, it depends on you personally, but consider when you know, one statement that has been made before, and that Tina likes to use, is that you really get down to about 4 different outfits, and I mean maybe a little more for you, or maybe
a
even
special
less.
occasion outfit here.
But
and there,
you need, if you need something to, if you attend, if you go to church, or you go to an occasional meeting, maybe for a professional meeting that you are an alumni of, or something. I mean, you don't want to strip yourself out to where you're only running around in a Mickey Mouse T-shirt and a pair of shorts. But then again, it depends on
maybe
what you're
want
doing.
to.
Maybe
I mean, think about it really. If you stop and are honest with yourself and think about the things that you wear the most often, you're probably only about 4 different outfits that you rotate through. You have your favorite pair of pants or jeans. You have your favorite go-to blouses or T-shirts. So that's kind of how I've been deciding what needs to go. Is you have about 4 outfits that you need. So we highly recommend starting early. Like we said, we started about a year in advance, just going through stuff little by little. Another big tip is to just do one section at a time. Some people say one room at a time, but we highly recommend one drawer at a time, one shelf at a time, one bin if you have like storage bins in your garage or whatever. Just one little area at a time, because especially if you're still working while you're trying to do this downsizing, retirement kind of process, you're not going to have a lot of time. And the more you do this process of sorting, deciding, getting rid of, or like storing somewhere safe, that whole process, it builds muscle memory. So it's hard to do it at first because you're like, well, I love these things. These are my things. I like having this. The more you do that, like, make that decision, go through that process of looking at it, reviewing it, sorting it, getting rid of it, it's easier. So start with the easy stuff and start with little chunks at a time, because it can be mentally and physically exhausting to do this sorting and thinking about. So give yourself time. One little section at a time is what we recommend. Sort the things. Like, you're going to have different piles of things. You're going to have things that you're just going to throw away. Put those in the trash instantly, or put them in a black garbage sack. Don't put anything else in a black garbage sack, because you're going to forget what's in there. And if it's in a black garbage sack, you're going to throw it in the trash. So you don't want to put something else that you want to save. So you can use totes or clear bags or whatever you want to use for the stuff that's a different. So we have trash, we have donation. There's lots of places to donate that you can get a tax receipt for and use it on your taxes as a write-off.
Yeah, if it's usable. I mean, I think that's what drives a lot of people. They're like, oh, but it's really in good shape, or it's in perfect condition, and
you want someone to use it.
And there's always a home for something like that.
Yeah.
Like, or maybe you've got a bunch of dried up old pens like I did. I had bags of them after a while, and I was just
a pin drawer,
throwing them around, throwing them out. I mean, so it's things like that. But it's you don't want to overwhelm yourself and say, I'm going to do this in 1 week. It's going to take, depending on where you've been and how long you've been there, and
it's going to take
it's going to take a while. So give yourself time, because it adds up. And you don't want to do it all the time every day either. So.
No, you want to live your life and do other things. So a lot of things you can donate, a lot of things you can ask your family and friends if they want. There's ways that you can sell things, like on eBay or Facebook Marketplace, or we even actually took a big piece of furniture that we couldn't fit in the motorhome, obviously, and no one wanted it because it was so large. It kind of fit the home that we were in. We took it to a consignment shop, and so they gave us 60 days to consign it. At 30 days, they mark the price down. At 60 days, they say, do you want to come and get it, or do you want us to donate it? And we're like, this is pretty sweet. I mean, if it doesn't sell, they're just going to donate it for us. So by the time the 60 days is up, we might be traveling already, so we don't want to have to go back and get that if it doesn't sell. So that was a perfect solution for us, is a consignment shop. So those are some things that you can do with your things. And then after, so you've done all the sorting, you've taken your time, a year, months, whatever it is, make sure that if you find anything that belongs to someone else that you've borrowed, that you do your best to try and return it.
You'd be surprised how many things you find
happen.
like, oh, that doesn't belong to me.
Still have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, do your best to get that back to somebody. If you have things that your family members have stored at your house, give them a timeline. Say, okay, I need to be out by this time, so you're going to have to come get this, or it's going to go to donation. So do all that stuff, and then just remember, if you're in doubt, am I going to use this or not, just let it go. If you're not sure you're going to use it, just let it go. You can always replace it. TVs, electronics, everything gets cheaper as we go along. I mean, you can go to Walmart now, get a nice size TV for like $150. So we always spend more on stuff when we buy it, and then it gets cheaper. So don't worry about replacing stuff if you need it.
Everything's replaceable. You know, I mean, especially physical items, there's always some way to get. I mean, it's rare unless you have some super rare to antique or something that's sentimental. You're not going to get rid of that anyway. But all this stuff can be replaced, and usually for less money.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing about posting things on eBay, for example, Poshmark or Etsy or even Craigslist, is you find that for me, for example, I've decided I've spent way too much money on stuff buying new when there's so much premium product out there. I mean, I don't mean like expensive. I mean just stuff that's in brand new condition for way less than you can buy at a store.
Yeah.
So there's that option too. You're going to discover there's some cheaper ways to maybe replace some of the stuff you have as well. So anyway, it's kind of fun to get out there and find out what's out there and things like that as you go through that journey. So
the other thing that we suggest is if you run across any photos or papers or legal documents or sentimental things, keep those for last. Kind of put them all in one spot and keep them for last, because that's going to take a little bit more time and brain power and emotional energy. So save those for last, and you can work on them maybe even after you're into your smaller space, or however you want to do that. So we've kind of given you some tips on how to get from your big space and get ready to go to your little space. If you're like us, you've really downsized, and then our next phase of downsizing from our RV is to slow travel down from an RV to like a suitcase. So what we're doing now while we're in the RV is we're, prioritizing where we can put things. It's all about storage and functionality. So we have under the bench storage, we have under the bed storage, we have lots of little shelves and things. So when you get to that smaller space, make sure you use those functional things. Maybe you can get your bed up a little bit and put some under the bed storage. It depends on what kind of smaller space you're doing, but there's always ways to maximize that space and make it feel like it's a little bigger. You can use over-the-door storage. You can trick the eye, use some visual tricks like mirrors, and maybe you hang your window curtains all the way up to the ceiling, all the way to the floor.
Shower curtains is the same way.
Things like that will help you feel, kind of trick the eye that there's a little bit more space. You can use, there's lots of organizing hooks and over the door things and under the bed things. You can use vacuum seal bags to kind of shrink up your stuff so it fits nicer in those little storage spaces. A lovely rule that we have started implementing is 1 in, 1 out. So if you need a new pair of shoes, go ahead and get a new pair of shoes, but get rid of the one that they're replacing so that you don't ever have to worry about, now where am I going to put this? Because you've already established your space in your RV, your tiny home, your suitcase, whatever it is. So feel free to get new stuff. Everybody always needs new things. Your things wear out, you use them up. So we know we're going to have to buy new stuff, but 1 in, 1 leaves. So that is a lovely rule that we like to use. It makes it easy. You don't even have to think about it twice.
Yeah.
So a couple other things we like to encourage people is don't wait till the last minute. We've been doing this for about a year, and it's still, the last day was crazy busy, crazy long, crazy hectic. We had a timeline and we ran right up against it and we were exhausted. So as much time as you give yourself, it's still going to be a lot of work. So give yourself plenty of time to have some rest periods in between, and go do fun stuff. Keep living your life. Don't just spend a whole year sorting and organizing. And ask for help. When you get to that point where you need some muscles or some trucks or whatever it is, ask for help. You will definitely, most likely, I would almost guarantee, declutter again once you get to your smaller space. Or even if you put a bunch of stuff in your suitcase to travel, I'm sure that some of that stuff you will decide is not really necessary, but you thought you needed to hang on to it. We do not have a storage unit. We've done that in the past, and it just doesn't make sense to have a storage unit. We want to live minimally with the things that we need and the things that bring us joy and the things that serve us. So we don't want to pay extra money to have stuff that isn't serving us in a storage unit that we
and the risk of a storage
are never
unit,
going to see again.
The risk of a storage unit becomes a dumping ground because it just makes it easy to make it out of sight, out of mind. And
to not make those decisions. So you make the decision to get rid of something, and then sometimes you second guess yourself. Well, I'll just put it in a storage unit, or I'll put it in this closet, and I'll wait and see if I use it. No, just trust your gut. You're smart. You know what you need. Trust your gut. Make the decision one time, and then just go forward with it. Don't second guess. Don't say, let's just wait and see. Trust your gut. Give yourself grace. Give yourself time to do this process. It will be worth it. What's your favorite thing about downsizing?
I think that it's kind of rewarding to see people get use out of things that you no longer have use for. Maybe you once did, or maybe you thought you were going to, and it's kind of exciting to see people. One of the things that one of the things I personally have been doing is I had a pretty sizable collectible collection. And I've sold off a lot of it, and a lot of people have just been really excited to get. So I enjoyed it for a while, and now someone else is going to enjoy it for a while. So it's, and also knowing that I'm a person of a certain age, and we don't live forever. Knowing that our relatives and our children and grandchildren aren't going to be sorting through all of our stuff.
I think that was one of the main motivators for us to start doing this downsizing process, is watching our parents age and go through that. And after my mom specifically passed away, she had my house, she had stuff in my sister's house, she had stuff in, and then she had 2 storage units full of stuff
that she paid for decades.
Paid for
not just years, decades.
And it wasn't like 90% of it was just stuff that had gotten ruined over the years. So we just decided we're not going to do that to our children. We're going to give them the stuff that they want from our life's stash now. And it's been really fun to see our kids and our grandkids be super excited over little things that they really wanted. Specifically, our grandson wanted a little Star Wars toy gun that made sounds that he was just thrilled, like so excited to get that.
He said he's wanted it for years.
He wanted it since he was a kid and he first saw it. So it's just fun little things like that. You don't get to see that if you pass away and the kids all come through your stuff and decide what they want to take, but it's really fun to get to see who's going to get what you want and how it brings them joy. So we have felt lighter, physically lighter, as we've gotten rid of stuff. It's been really therapeutic to get rid of all the extra clutter in our lives, and we're really excited about the next steps of our journey. So we hope that this was helpful for you, and we hope that you'll stick around to see more of our journey and how we continue to downsize and move on in our retirement with slow travel. So we hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.